they work together in the case of a Harper minority. I'm told that a senior person from from Trudeau's operation, with the knowledge of the leader, and a senior person on Mulcair's with the knowledge of the leader, have been meeting and saying, look, we have to make sure this doesn't prevent us making some kind of a deal, working together on other issues outside this one, and they're meeting.
Anthony Furey is here, and Adam Giambrone. Adam, you've been an elected official. These kinds of talks must go on in the background on some level all the time.
There are contacts. I mean, people maintain discussions. People go out for drinks. You know, you have so there are some contacts. I don't know if I fully believe that. Do I think that somebody in each party at some point has chatted about this? Sure, because those sort of conversations might occur anywhere.
They're sort of inevitable.
Well, they are, and there's sort of a natural. If you were out with someone, but I don't think they're to the point where one person has formally said, "Let's meet at 2:00 and have a discussion about a coalition." I don't think that's occurred. I think some people at the levels have had some discussions, but nothing formal.
But Jerry, the other thing that does always happen is two guys go out for casual drinks and they're not really talking about much, but one guy wants to get some traction on the play, calls up Mr. Oliver and says, hey, me and Giambrone met, and we're talking about a merger, it was going to be fantastic. And if you ask Adam, he says, no, we didn't talk about that. We just kind of joked about it, and then that was it. But one guy wants to play it up because it's, for whatever reason, good in the cards for his party or his own traction at that point. This could be anywhere on the spectrum. This could be super low, or this could be tomorrow there's going to be a big announcement.
Yeah, I mean, there was two guys from each leader's office. I mean, we don't know, were they the first press secretary or something, or you just don't know. Yeah. I mean, look, having said that, I don't actually think there's been any real serious, formal talks. If this happens, anything more than just a casual conversation. I also think that it's not that complicated. I mean, coalition, there's going to be nothing before an election. So we know that. All three parties will run a full slate of candidates. They will compete in every riding. Some will be more successful than others. And then we'll shake out how it does. And then if there is something going on, maybe there'll be a discussion. But there are so many different variations here, I don't even know how you begin to parse it.
If I can do a hot seat question, did you ever meet with the Liberals when you were NDP president to talk about merger?
No, but in fairness,
it wouldn't have been.
In fairness, there was no logical opportunity. I mean, here there is some scenarios.
Right.
There was no possibility at that point.
So you wouldn't run on it, is what you're saying. Yeah. And so then afterward, how that dynamic goes depends on how many seats each leader has.
Well, that's right. I mean, first of all, it's somewhat anti-democratic. Traditionally, now this is changing, there was a pro-vote subsidy issue, so you'd be crazy to pull back 50 seats because you were getting paid. Now, the government has changed that formula, so that will be less of a factor. But literally, financially, you could be talking millions of dollars over a mandate just because you didn't run candidates in 40 or 50 ridings. I also think there's a lot of party activists, hardcore liberal, hardcore conservatives, and New Democrats who really believe in democracy. They've always voted conservative, or they always vote New Democrat, and they feel like they want to make their vote even when they know their candidate is not going to win, but that's how they vote. And they deserve, they're your hardcore supporters. They deserve a choice to cast their ballot for their first party.
All right, but you're the guy at the table at the moment who comes from the left. Why can't the Liberals and the NDP get along to the point where it's not, believe me, I don't want this to happen, but if the Liberals and the NDP could get their act together and form a party, they'd run this country.
But there's two things, I think, fundamentally. First of all, they are fundamentally different internal party cultures. They come from very different places. Now, they're both in flux and changing, but there are those sort of things. I think there are party brokers in each party that I'm not sure are that excited. The other thing is, I think each party believes, and we could have a whole discussion about this, that they could be the governing party, or the second governing party. It's traditionally in the past been Tory Liberal. The NDP have really pushed, and they went pretty far to replace the Liberals. The Liberals feel they're coming back, and we'll see what happens. So at this point, I think after the next election, if there's another stalemate, there may be some discussions, but both parties sees themselves as that potential governing party.
The party has been moving to the left ever since Paul Martin lost the election.
The Liberal Party.
The Liberal Party. So I do see it being a bit more viable both for the Liberals right now, although I do think that there are a lot of people, fiscally conservative Liberals, who would not like that very much and already don't like what Justin Trudeau is saying and getting up to, and they think the budget will balance itself. Phrase is a little bit of an embarrassing phrase and embarrasses their 90s pedigree. At the same time, there are many people in the NDP who think that the NDP is not far enough left, and they would have a problem with this. The New Politics Initiative kind of folded in on itself when they said, well, Jack Layton's fulfilled its mandate. You had the waffle movement for many years. People who said, no, this is supposed to be a socialist party, and they're always upset with how people like Thomas Mulcair and Jack Layton are I think, sober-minded centrists in on a lot of issues.
I mean, my guess is if tomorrow the two parties did a surprise announcement that they were merging, you would have the next day or shortly in the new year, you'd have another third party that would come out, and and so you'd be back to whatever would be the new Democrats or something like that.
I think we'd have a Wild Rose type party where the left of the NDP and the right of the Conservatives meet and form their own party.
That would be the bloc, basically, right?
True.
So then, in the opinion of both of you, Canada will never be like the United States. The U.S. has other parties, but they don't count. It's the Democrats and the Republicans, and that's it. I'll tell you what I like about that before you answer, is that you don't get a situation like we have in Ontario, where 38% of the voters gave us a majority government.
I mean, look, I've been a New Democrat for a long time. I've run as a New Democrat. I mean, I always say, like, if there was the two parties, I'd be a Democrat, and there's different wings of the Democratic Party. But no, I personally, as someone who's been involved as an elector, like that system where you have two major national parties. I mean, one thing that frustrates me in the United States, though, is now with the Republicans, there's almost a splintering part of it, which takes them away from electoral viability. I wouldn't vote Republican, but I see a value of having these two parties contesting, and in some ways, it's a challenge. But I don't think we're going there in a Canadian.
And you wouldn't support a merger?
No, I don't. Well, I don't think it would work. I could potentially support a merger. But I don't see how, with the differences of culture, they couldn't be a merger. It almost, both parties would have to be dissolved, and a new party would have to form with its own traditions. Because I don't think one could subsume the other. I don't know how you do. Who would take precedence, and I just don't know how that would happen.
Liberals would have to get spanked in another election like they did in the last one, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think for various reasons, it's not all Justin Trudeau. The Liberals are too powerful a party to be held down to that degree forever, so they will rise back up.
Well, and the question, sorry, Anthony, just one quick thing is that I think, like, with this election coming up, if the Liberals, I think they are going to go up. I think they're going to pick seats. I think they're going to take some away from the NDP. I don't know yet, and I don't know if anyone does, whether they will surpass the New Democrats. I think there's going to be a lot of soul searching. If, say, they come to 75 and the New Democrats have 85 seats, what will happen?
We may find ourselves quite close to having a three-way horse race after the next election in terms of equal parties.
Well, that'd be good for us.
Yeah, lots to talk about.